All right, you're like, Romeo and Juliet, where's the love? Here we are. It's today. But we're going to talk about the balcony scene, but in a different way than you might have thought of. First of all, there are no balconies in ours or originally. That word wasn't even used in England until well after 20 years of Romeo and Juliet. But everybody thinks of the word balcony when you think of this scene. It's super famous, but there wasn't a balcony. There was only a window. Isn't that strange? And that is a good intro into talking about what we're going to talk about today. My name is Marie Stewart, and today we're going to talk about new things from the famous Romeo and Juliet balcony scene. So first, let's talk about Romeo Montague. What a dreamy, dreamy boy. And I'm not just saying that when we're talking about handsomeness, although when have you ever seen a Romeo in a movie or a play who wasn't super cute? But I'm more talking about dreamy as in like head in the clouds, right? We always think about like these traditional stereotypical gender roles of like practicality when it comes to men. But Romeo is one of the dreamiest, honestly dizziest characters in the canon. All he thinks about is emotions and impulsiveness, even when you look at his actual text. When he, for example, when he first comes in and sees all of the bodies on the ground and all of the chaos from the fight in the first scene, he's just looking around confused, trying to make sense of it. And Shakespeare has him juxtaposing all of these things that don't make sense. For example, he's talking about, oh, brawling love, oh, loving hate, oh, anything of nothing first created. But then he keeps on spiraling off into these even more poetic things like feather of lead, bright smoke, cold fire, sick health. It's like he keeps trying to make sense of it, but just getting more and more poetic in his juxtapositions. Also, the boy cannot use a sentence without a metaphor or a simile or talking about the moon, which is something we love about him, and other people do. There's even a scene later when he's banished where both the nurse and the friar, who are both furious with him, end up taking care of him because he is so upset and genuine. It's something we love about him, but it's something that doesn't get highlighted about him enough. Something we love about Romeo are his feelings and his tenderness. It makes him lovable. And very different from Juliet, our heroine. I think it's really interesting that because she's a teenage girl, we like to think of her as this like super dizzy, impulsive character. But actually, she is one of the most practical characters in this entire play. For example, in this very scene, Juliet is like, how did you get here? Or how did you arrive at this place? And Romeo, ever the romantic, says something like, I flew. And she's like, no, really, how did you get into my yard? Like, we have a gate. It's dangerous here. Juliet is always the person trying to figure out what's happening, how are things working? Like, she keeps reminding Romeo, if anyone sees you here, you could die. If they do see thee, they could murder thee. And Romeo's like, I don't even care. Let them find me. And she's like, I care. I want you to be safe. Juliet's also very particular about not wanting to rush things. Romeo's like, let's go, let's get married, let's run away. And she's like, we just met today, like an hour ago. Our families hate each other. Can we slow down? I find it really interesting that they're both so different and yet they care about each other. And yet in so many productions, we all we see is this like mishmash of two people in love and love and love and love looking exactly the same. But I think what's interesting about this scene and about them as characters are how different they are. So let's look at this scene while noticing these two characters in all of their beautiful differences.
Jests at scars that never felt a wound. Up soft. What light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. It is my lady. Ah, it is my love. All that she knew she were. speaks, yet she says nothing. What of that? Her eye discourses. I shall answer it. I'm too bold. 'Tis not to me she speaks. Two of the fairest stars in all the heavens, having some business, do entreat her eyes to twinkle in their spheres till they return. See how she rests her cheek upon her hand. Oh, that I wore a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek.
Ay me.
She speaks.
Oh, Romeo. Romeo. Wherefore art thou Romeo? Deny thy father and refuse thy name. Or, if thou wilt not, be but sworn my love, and I'll no longer be a Capulet.
Shall I hear more, or shall I speak at this?
'Tis but thy name that is my enemy. Thou art thyself, though not a Montague. What's Montague? It is nor hand, nor foot, nor arm, nor face. Oh, be some other name belonging to a man. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. So Romeo would, were he not Romeo called, retain that dear perfection which he owns without that title. Oh, Romeo, doff thy name, and for that name, which is no part of thee, take all myself.
I take thee at thy word. Call me but love, and I'll be new baptized. Henceforth I never shall be Romeo.
What man art thou that dost bescreened in night so stumblest on my counsel?
By a name, I know not how to tell thee who I am. My name, dear saint, is hateful to myself, because it is an enemy to thee. Had I it written, I would tear the word.
Mine ear hath not yet drunk 100 words of thy tongue's utterance, and yet I know the sound. Art thou not Romeo and a Montague?
Neither, fair maid, if either thee dislike.
How camest thou hither? Tell me, and wherefore? The garden walls are high and hard to climb, and the place dead, if any of my kinsmen do find thee here.
With love's light wings did I o'erperch these walls, for stony limits cannot hold love out. And love can do what dares love attempt, therefore thy kinsmen are no stop to me.
If they do see thee, they will murder thee.
Lack, there is more peril in thine eye than in 20 of their swords. Look thou but sweet, and I am proof against their enmity.
I would not for the world they saw thee here.
I have night's cloak to hide me from their eyes.
By whose direction foundst thou out this place?
By love, which first did prompt me to inquire. He lent me counsel, and I lent him eyes. I am no pilot, yet wert thou as far as that vast shore washed with furthest seas, I would adventure for such merchandise.
Thou knowest the mask of night doth hide my face, else would a maiden blush bepaint my cheek for all that thou hast heard me speak tonight. Fain would I dwell on form, fain deny. But farewell compliment, dost thou love me? I know thou wilt say aye, and I will take thy word. But if thou swearest, thou mayst prove false. At lovers' perjuries, they say Jove laughs. Oh, gentle Romeo, if thou dost love, pronounce it faithfully. Or, if thou dost think me too quickly won, then I will frown and be perverse and say thee nay, so thou wilt woo, but else not for the world.
Lady, by yonder blessed moon, I vow, tipped with silver, all these fruit tree tops.
Swear not by the moon, the inconstant moon that ever changes in her circled orb, lest thy love prove likewise variable.
What shall I swear by then?
do not swear at all. Thou must swear by thou gracious self, which is the God of my idolatry, and I'll believe thee.
If my heart's dear love...
But do not swear. Although I joy in thee, I take no joy from our contract tonight. It is too rash, too ill-advised, too sudden, too like the lightning, which doth disappear as soon as one says it lightens. Sweet good night.
Oh, wilt thou leave me so unsatisfied?
What satisfaction canst thou have tonight?
The exchange of thy love's faithful vow for mine.
I did give thee that before thou didst request it, and yet I would it were to give again.
Wouldst thou withdraw it? For what purpose, love?
But to be frank, and give it thee again. And yet, I wish only for the thing I have. My bounty is as boundless as the sea. I love as deep. The more I give to thee, the more I have, for both are infinite. Wow, that was very tender, which kind of makes me sad because this is a tragedy. Anyway, now you've seen some examples of how Shakespeare uses language to contrast, teach us something about how characters are different. Now it's your turn. We'd like you to write 2 reviews of your favorite song. One by Romeo, with lots of flowering metaphors, lots of examples of how it made you feel. And one by Juliet, very practical, cut and dry, maybe a checklist of all the things they could improve. And please click the link below to check our experience guide for more activities and ideas. And we'll see you next week for more willpower.